This is JMD Mateus, and you're listening to Into the Night, a Moon Knight podcast.
Yes, welcome back, Looney listeners. This is Into the Night, a Moon Knight podcast. You are listening to episode 111, and I am one of your High Priest of Khonshu, Ray, taking you through this wonderful journey. But with me, I do have a special guest co-host. He's, again, no stranger to the show, very familiar with the microphone in front of him. I'd like to welcome Josh Geronimo Johnson. Josh, how are you going?
I'm doing good, man. How's it going?
Yeah, good. It's great to have you on board here. We did speak about this a while ago, and it's kind of bodes well for what's coming up with the Moon Knight annual Acts of Evil. So for Looney listeners who are totally unaware of what I am talking about, Josh and I, we were talking about earlier of doing an Acts of Vengeance kind of overview. To include the Moon Knight issues, of course, but it's such a massive event. We thought would give a bit of a primer for those that are unaware of the event, which occurred. When was it? About 89, Josh? Late 80s.
I think it was 1990.
Okay, so right into the 90s. Still got very much, to me, still very much got a bit of an 80s vibe. I'm not sure about yourself. Josh is, again, for those who don't know as well, he has come onto the show every now and again. We kind of consider you, Josh, as a bit of a Moon Knight historian in senses. Josh, very well versed with a lot of the 80s kind of. I mean, that's a lot of the stuff that we covered with you, right? West Coast Avengers,
Yeah, like 80s Marvel is like my favorite era of comics, and that's a lot of what I collect and read. So that's why whenever you guys have something come up for this kind of time period, it's always like, hey, I'm available if you need a guest host on it.
It's really good to have you on as well, because you obviously know your stuff, and I think it's fair to say 80s. And do you go any earlier than that as well, Josh? Do you go 70s or?
Oh, 60s? I do.
Yep.
I kind of like when I buy add to my collection. Usually, it's just whatever I find. Like if I find something like from the in like a quarter box or a dollar box, it's like, oh, this is from like the 70s. It's just random 70s Avengers issue. I'll grab it just because why not?
Okay, no, true. I mean, I guess because 70s, 80s, I mean, each decade really has a distinct kind of style during that time. And for those, I don't know, for Loonies who, I mean, older Loonies or seasoned, comic fans would know how different, say, an 80s comic is to, say, today's comic. So it's good to have someone that's really got a vested interest in that particular era. And so we're happy to have Josh Geronimo Johnson with us. We're going to go through Loonies. We're going to go through the Acts of Vengeance. Basically what it means. I'm going to lean on you here, Josh, because I know you've done a lot of work, a lot of research into it. And then we're gonna kind of go through the Moon Knight Acts of Vengeance issues. Now we kind of covered a little bit of it, Josh, previously with we did a Midnight special, a spotlight on Midnight. One of the few episodes that we've done that spotlights a particular character, and so we see Midnight in. Well, actually, only one of the 3 issues that we're going to cover for Moon Knight, right? So, but it is important to know, and we'll get into it as well, how it references his previous appearance, what it means in the whole Moon Knight canon. But no, we're looking forward to that. And Josh, you've just off the top of your head, there's so many Acts of Vengeance like tie-ins. What would your favorite be?
That's tough. Because I said before, I read all of it. I think it's like 60-some issues.
It's a massive amount. Jeez.
Right. Now there's 2, because you have like your flagship ones. Because if you look on the covers of them, sometimes they have like a big Acts of Vengeance banner across the top, and then the ones like our Moon Knight ones that are more like tie-ins, they have it just in the corner.
Yes.
So
yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Yep.
Yeah. So most of your ones that have like the banner on it, for the most part, are probably your more important ones and your better ones, to be honest.
Okay.
When it comes to the tie-ins, I actually think that the Moon Knight ones are the better, like some of the better ones.
They are. We'll get into it. There are a few. I mean, there's one. There's a particular gripe I have with it, but nothing against Moon Knight, but we'll get to it. Look, I'm just pulling up your. So Josh has prepared actually a breakdown. So I'm just going through your spreadsheet here, Josh. So you mentioned the big ones which had the banner across the top of it. Which one of them would you classify as like your favorite?
That's tough.
There are a lot of really good. I know you're a Spider-Man fan. There are a lot of really good Spider-Man ones.
I actually think that most of the Spider-Man ones are pretty bad, to be honest.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. I would say, I think like the Avengers ones are probably the best. And there's a really cool. And if I had to pick my favorite moment, it's in Captain America 367, I think it is.
Okay.
That's probably my favorite one because it has, it's Captain America. You have like Magneto and Red Skull they've been sort of not teamed up, but on the same like committee, if that makes sense. And at this point, when they realize that their whole plan isn't working, Magneto, who is a Holocaust survivor, turns against Red Skull, who is a Nazi.
Oh, right.
And
That's pretty cool.
Chases him. Yeah, he chases him down and throws him into a hidden bomb shelter, and then like caves the roof in on it, like to leave him to die. So that's probably one of my favorites.
Right.
This whole thing.
I mean, there's a lot at stake there. You're talking about the main players there. And granted, you said that the banner is more of the like important issues, because I mean, if you look at the Moon Knight one, it's so tangential to the whole event, right? It's almost just like a tack on, Anyway, again, I was about to say we'll get through it, but I'm just going to drop it now. Like the opponents that he fights, like I don't know why Chuck Dixon picked them. They were really terrible in my eyes, but anyway, you've got a chance here to pit Moon Knight against anyone, like any non-Moon Knight villain, and we get these like Z graders anyway. It was, but I still enjoyed it anyway. So, okay, so the Captain America one for you. I have not read that one. That sounds really cool. And you mentioned the Moon Knight ones for tie-in is your kind of favorite. Like lesser ones. Look, I think we talked about this before, Josh. I love the Thor and Juggernaut one. That was one of the first comics I think I've actually picked up as well, and it was a doozy. So I was very happy to get that. I love massive fights, Titan versus Titan. You can't go any better than that. Just going through your list, because a lot of this is kind of like jogging my memory, taking me down memory lane. I remember the Web of Spider-Mans. I love them with Graviton, Goliath. Incredible Hulk was a good one with Freedom Force. Dale Keane and Peter David did one. Yeah. Very funny. I mean, it's always kind of funny with Peter David. I love the bit where Hulk grabs the Blob's gut and he just stretches it back because he goes, "Oh, you can't move, huh?" And Fred Dukes is going, "No, this is not how my power works." And he can't take it. He jumps up, and then Hulk just like punches the hell out of him. There's some really fun ones. I think I mentioned to you the Punisher Doom one. I can't remember that. I remember I've got it, but I can't remember the story. But that kind of stuck in my mind. And the Quasar one is pretty good, I thought, with Absorbing Man. But anyway, Loonies, for those who don't know about Acts of Vengeance, you're probably wondering what the hell we're talking about. So, Josh, I'd like to put it to you to maybe describe what this whole event is all about.
All right, so this takes place in 1990. So Marvel decided to, because the past 3 years they did X-Men related events. They still did events back in the day, and they saw it a million times. They've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah.
Just now everybody's sick of it. But so they decided to do something a little different that incorporated a lot of characters in the Marvel Universe. So they decided to pit various villains against different heroes, not the ones that they usually fight. So the basis sort of is that Loki gets like a cabal of like the top-notch villains, which include, Magneto, Red Skull, Kingpin, Doctor Doom, the Mandarin, and the Wizard. And he's like, oh yeah, we're going to like swap villains, and because they're not used to, like, Spider-Man probably has never fought Magneto, so Magneto should be able to kick his ass. I assume that was the pitch. But when you sort of read it all, it's sort of like, well, these 7 guys, and those 6 villains, they don't know that Loki is like, they don't know that Loki's Loki. They think that he's just like a little like servant who's sort of kind of getting stuff together. But it in reality, it's like the 6 of them sit in a boardroom and they like commission other villains to go after the heroes first, which is kind of dumb. And then once none of those minor villains work out, maybe some of the bigger ones will go after the other heroes. Some do, some don't, and they all end up getting defeated anyways. So It was a good concept, but the execution was not done very well for the most part.
It's a pretty hard thing, I guess, to try and rein in. Look, I'm just being the devil's advocate here as well. I mean, the way I understand the Marvel offices work as well, you have basically they work like different departments. Like, say you have a Spider-Man team with its own editor, you have the X-Men with their own editor and creative staff, and Avengers and all that. And to actually pull this massive event, and this is massive to me. I think it's still more widespread than even if you look at the biggest events lately, not including Secret Wars. It tries to include absolutely everyone and tries to tie it in all together. And I'd imagine that'd be pretty hard to do and to keep continuity, because back in those days, I think they were a lot more attuned to trying to have things be in continuity, and today, like, you can have a Doctor Strange book doing one thing, he's in hell, and then you have him in the Avengers book, he's just all of a sudden, he's in New York. So they're very loose with continuity. But I'd agree as well, Josh. I mean, there's a lot of good and there's a lot of bad stuff in it, but I reckon it would be hard to actually pull off. And you having read it holistically, I guess you get a better eye, a better perspective with all that. So, Anyway, sorry, I totally jumped ahead here, Josh. I was thinking maybe I should do some funky edit at the end, but look, I'm going to backtrack, and before we get into Acts of Vengeance, so there's a little taster for you, Loonies, about what it's about. We'll get to that. We'll get into the meat and bones of it. But we just got a bit of white noise, a bit of news first, Josh. I just wanted to put to you, because it's a very exciting time. Being a Moon Knight fan, there's a lot of buzz going around. Our group has been fantastic. It's been growing heaps. A lot of new people.
There's been so much activity in that new group. There's new posts. There must be a dozen new posts every day now. Yeah,
which is really, really cool to see. And anyway, I thought I'll throw your way, Josh, a few hot topics, okay, that have kind of cropped up in the group and have kind of caused a little bit of a ripple in the Moon Knight water. So first of all, and look, by all means, Loonies, everyone is entitled to their own opinions, and that's fine as well. And look, as long as we conduct ourselves really well in the group and respect each other, that's fantastic. That's great. And you can voice your opinions. But Josh, the first bit of news. So Disney have confirmed that they won't be doing an R-rated or any R-rated shows on Disney Plus. Now, this kind of ruffled some feathers because, Moon Knight, associated with violence. What's your take on this? Are you happy or sad at this news?
See, to me, it doesn't really matter, because really there's only one real R-rated moment in Moon Knight's history, and that's what everyone's sort of flipping out about. So he cut off Bushman's face. That happened one time in the almost 50 years of his history.
Yep.
So I don't think it's that big. Plus, here's the thing with me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm perfectly fine with trading off gratuitous violence because I know that we'll get him in some sort of costume with it being through Disney.
Yeah.
Whereas if it was through Netflix, where we could have the, gratuitous bloody violence, but he would be doing it wearing a white T-shirt and a white bandana.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, that is a good point. I mean, geez, we only got Daredevil, really, in the Netflix shows in costume. Everyone else, like, Iron Fist, Hellcat as well, was the latest one. And the Punisher was sparingly using his emblem. So, yeah, you're right, that's a good point. I think in Disney, we're kind of safe in the knowledge of knowing that we will get a comic booky element to it and some true adaptation of it. But yeah, there's violence then, Josh. So look, I've got my own thoughts about it as well. So apart from the face cutting thing, does it need to be ultra violent as well? Like in a greater sense, to make it a successful film, TV show.
To be honest, no, I don't think it needs to. I mean, you can just do implied violence if you really need to. Like,
yeah,
if you need to be like, oh, we'll show like a little bit of blood. Just do. Okay, you can have the camera like pan in and just have like blood just splatter on the wall. But like,
yeah,
but that'd be like someone just flicking a paintbrush of red paint on. Like, you can do like something implied, like, and try to do like something creative to get around it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, look, I'm a bit of everything from what you've said as well. I think it can be done without actually having to be graphically shown, of course. But I think you've hit the nail on the head in that in the, 30, 40 years, nearly 45 odd years of Moon Knight, even the ones that we're going to be reviewing tonight, he's teamed up with the Punisher. Yet you don't see him doing anything graphically violent or, horrible. He's actually against it as well. There's actually one bit where he stops the Punisher going, "You can't kill." So, and this is, again, just one other aspect of Moon Knight. But rightly so. 2006, I think, we were gifted with Charlie Houston's run. Fantastic run. But what we got also with that is now this desire to, like, this is the embodiment of Moon Knight, and I don't think it's fair to the likes of Doug Mensch and the Marc Spector title, the run, all the other creators, to say that this is Moon Knight, this is him cutting a face off, this is him being hyper violent. I think there's a lot more to Moon Knight than that, and you only have to look at his certain identities, his supporting cast, to know that you've got a lot to actually, Khonshu, you've got a lot to deal with, and that you can expand upon rather than just focus on just mindless violence. So yeah, kind of with you on that one there, Josh.
Right. Yeah, because when I saw the news, which I was I was doing dishes when I saw it, because after I was done, I wiped my hands, checked my phone, and then I saw the announcement, and like I said, when somebody posted it, I commented, like, I jumped up and down like my favorite team just won a sports championship. But then I went on to look in like the comment section of all those on like Facebook and Instagram, which they're like the Wild West, because half of it now is all just people bitching about Spider-Man coming back, which that's a whole other thing. But yeah, I saw numerous comments of people saying like, "Oh yeah, like family-friendly Moon Knight, no thanks." Well,
Yeah.
So it's just like you've clearly only heard of him, or maybe read like one run, or just heard of the whole face cutting off thing, and now you're of course have to go on Facebook and bitch about it.
I mean, it's also as well. It's not like if it's not R-rated, it's gonna be the complete polar opposite. It's not gonna be like a G rating, Yeah. If it's not, so it's not like it's gonna become like roses and kisses and rainbows and stuff. It's not. Yeah, you can still do a fantastic PG-13 in Australia. I think it's called M+, or it might even be MA+. And there's a certain level that you can get away with, but also as well, I think I've said this as well before, when did this problem start? It started when, Deadpool paved the way by having an R-rated, film. Before that, no one was ever really no one was ever like really focusing too much on the ratings. Like, it didn't really matter. What mattered was good writing, good acting, good production. I mean, that's what will get you a good TV show or movie. But anyway, I don't want to go too much on about it. And look, a shout out also as well. Like, we've got, we really enjoy all the Loonies over there as well. One of the long-time Loonies, Looney Daryl, as well. I want to shout out him. Daryl, totally validate your opinion as well. Everyone's each their own. Daryl actually said, he doesn't think it will be a bad show. He's just saying that it wouldn't reach its potential by not having an R rating. Fair enough.
Yeah. I think just real quickly. I think we should just be happy that he is getting a show. But the thing is, with these new properties that they're coming out, because the first batch is all like repeat characters that have already appeared in the movies. Now they're getting a show. But with these 3 new ones, with Moon Knight, She-Hulk, and Ms. Marvel, they have the potential to go, like, after their shows, to go into movies. So maybe we'll see what they do with the show, and then if it gets enough traction and stuff, maybe they could end up putting out a movie, but have that be R-rated.
Yeah, exactly.
Very slim chance, but there is that chance.
There is a chance, exactly, as well. And if, again, this is all speculation. If Moon Knight finds himself in the, just an appearance in the Blade movie, for instance, and if Blade gets a heavy rating because, he's fighting vampires, there's a lot of gore, graphic, violence, then there you go. Yeah, happy days. Moon Knight in an R-rated kind of, adventure. So, anyway, we are way off. Yeah, 2021 is when the show comes out. So, plenty of time to speculate. Plenty of time to, drop your opinions in, I'm sure. Josh, the next one here, not to do with the show. It is a Moon Knight series. It was kind of hinted upon. A couple of the Loonies posted this up. He will return in December with a new comic book series, which I'm absolutely excited about. It's not that long to go. And he'll return in an unexpected way. Now, Josh, any ideas what this could mean? The main go-to is obviously Jason Aaron. But unexpected. I mean, that could mean coming via a cosmic route, or I don't know, because you tend to think that Jason Aaron's little hints are the thing that we're all expecting. So I guess the question is, what would it be?
I know. I have no idea.
It's going to be an interesting one. Look, I'm. The only other thing I can think of, I mean, in October he appears in Contagion. That's a 5-issue event in 5 weeks. I don't even know if that will give up anything. There's that cosmic thing coming up. Is it Incoming? I think, Josh, it's called. I hope I got that right. And there's this mysterious figure in silhouette as to who that is, and apparently that will set up all the events in 2020. I doubt it's Moon Knight. I think that the safe bet is I've heard it's Hulkling, potentially, because he's... Do you know Hulkling?
I only know of him because of his role in Civil War. That's the only thing I know him for.
Yeah, I don't know him too much as well. I know he's a partner of Wiccan, and I think he's part Skrull or something. So there's some cosmic cat. But okay. Well, Moon Knight, it's a pretty hard one to kind of figure out. Maybe, actually, I don't know, maybe this adventure in The Punisher, Rosensberg's Punisher, might reveal something. We'll just have to wait and see. Or maybe the annual with Kang might. Maybe that's it.
Oh, you know what? Maybe he gets, like, this is actually kind of cool to say, because Kang has to deal with time travel and stuff. Mm-hmm. Maybe, like, Moon Knight gets stuck at a different point in time, and that's what... Yeah. Oh, you know what? Oh, I think I figured it out. Yeah. So, there's this big push going on with 2099.
Oh yeah.
Maybe the current day Moon Knight gets sent to 2099 and he's stuck there.
Oh, I like that one. That's a take if ever I heard one. That's actually pretty cool because that's a big event coming up, isn't it? 2099. Yes. Yep. All right. Okay, let's go with that. Let's log that in the ITK podcast. You heard it here first, Loonies, from Josh. If Josh is right, friggin' hell, we'll all get him a beer. That's fantastic. I like it. Okay, well that's a good way to kind of leave that one hanging. And the last one, Josh. Okay, this might be a bit of a dead duck in the water. Just because it's just too early. Yeah. Shia LaBeouf as Moon Knight. This has come out from look. I put up my hand, guilty as charged, my bad. I got it from an unreputable site, apparently clickbait worthy. But apparently rumours that he's been courted to take the role as Moon Knight. Two things, Josh. Number one, can you see him do it? Number two, how credible do you think this is?
I'm going to say I don't think I can see him doing it, and I don't think that's credible at all. But
Yeah, he's not my pick. I don't think... But, he's a good actor, I think. I haven't seen him in that much, but...
I know he's had a lot of craziness in his like, non-professional, or I guess even part of his professional life. So, I don't know, maybe it could work, but like I said the last time I was on, I don't like fan casting. I mean, it's fan casting, it's rumors, but... I kind of hope they just go with somebody who's not as well known, to be honest.
Yep. Yeah, true. Look, this is just because I've watched it. I just got off watching. I've just started watching Mindhunter. I don't know if you've heard of that show, Josh.
No.
It's on Netflix. I've never heard of it before in my life as well. But my partner Eve just said, "Look, let's give this a go." Really cool. I won't get into it. It's just about crime and criminal psychology. Anyway, the lead guy in that, Jonathan Groff, I think he'd play a pretty good Moon Knight. So I don't know. I might post it up on the group. Just let us know what you think, Loonies. He's got that kind of, I don't know. I think he can play Stephen Grant, maybe play Jake Lockley. Definitely can play Marc Spector. So yeah, but Shia, cool. Yeah, I agree with you, Josh. I think it's way too early anyway, and yeah, he wouldn't be my pick. Shia or Keanu, Josh? If you had the choice, who would it be?
Oh, well, I'm going to say something that people are going to probably get mad at me about.
Yeah.
I've never seen Keanu Reeves act in anything, so I have
really?
no idea. So I
what the?
I may have seen The Matrix like way back in like 2000, 2001, but I have no memory of it. And other than that, I've never seen him in anything else.
Because you were in The Matrix, that's why, Josh.
Well, because I would have only been like, let's see, I would have only been like 8 or 9 when it came out. So I'm sure I had a friend who was like a couple years older than me, like, yo, watch this, like watch all this like slow motion stuff and all this crazy action. Like I sort of remember that, but. I think that was a long time ago.
I think you'd love it, Josh. You should give it a watch, especially since they're doing a sequel to The Matrix.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, watch the first one. The first one is fantastic. So I don't know how it holds up like now. It might be severely dated, but yeah, it's really good. Wow. So you haven't seen any Keanu stuff? Not even Bill and Ted's?
Nope. No, that's in that. I have this thing where, like, I think pretty much most movies from, like, the 80s and 90s, like, I just hate just because most of them are made, like, or at least, like, comedies and stuff like that. Like, they're made purposely, like, stupid, if that makes sense. Yeah. Like, now, my wife, she's 11 years older than I am, so she, like, grew up on that kind of stuff, and she's like, like National Lampoon's Vacation. Oh, I love it. I'm like, I hate it. I hate it
really?
So much. Yes. So like,
it is so cool. It is so good.
Kind of movies like that. Like I'm just like, no. I know Bill and Ted's is sort of like, kind of similar, like a goofy kind of thing. I'm like, no thanks.
I know what you mean. That the goof, it's on its sleeve. The goofiness is on its sleeve. Yeah, I know what you mean. I don't know. I guess if you grow up with that sort of stuff, you have a different version of it. But yeah, no, I think that stuff is funny.
It's fine because then for her, she like I can watch like Pokemon, and she's like, "What are you watching? Why are you watching this stupid thing?" It's like I loved it when I was 7 or 8.
Yeah, right. Yeah, again, Pokemon kind of flew over my head, but yeah, exactly. Differences. All right. Well, I mean that is the news. The 3 big points there, 3 big talking points in our group. So yeah, let us know what you think. Drop us your thoughts and opinions on them in the group. We'd love to hear it, and it certainly does generate some discussion. So,
This will be the show will be a conversation piece in the group till the end of time now. So
yeah, exactly. Oh man, we should be shock jocks. That'd be cool. All right. Well, just before we go into the break and get into the acts of vengeance, Josh, although we did give a bit of an overview, just a bit of a spectacle. So actually, also, I'd like to give a shout out our fellow collective podcast, Capes and Lunatics Sidekicks. Their show, Ultimate Spidercast, they're actually doing an Acts of Vengeance special as well. So a big shout out to Phil and Lilith. They'll be covering all the Spider-Man Acts of Vengeance issues. And Josh, from the ones that you've got in your spreadsheet, there are a few of them. So they've got their work cut out for them. But go check them out on, just search for Capes and Lunatics Sidekicks, or search for the Ultimate Spidercast. They're on Twitter, on Facebook as well. You should be able to find them in your podcast catcher. But big shout out to Phil and Lilith for that. I'll be certainly listening as well because, contrary to you, Josh, I do have a nostalgic love of them. Although I haven't read them lately, so they could really turn out to be really bad. I don't know. Also, just a couple of other shout-outs, a little spectacles here. There was an interview done by Cullen Bunn, which some of you may or may not have heard. It was a bonus episode, so that was an episode released just before this one. So go check it out. It's conducted by, again, Phil from Capes and Lunatics. He stepped in, very thankful Phil, and one of our own Loonies, the Power of Chad. So both of those guys got to speak to legendary figure Cullen Bunn. I was bloody gutted I wasn't able to go on there, but it's a really good listen, and he actually enlightens everyone about the upcoming Moon Knight annual, which we'll be reviewing in a couple of weeks as well. Just a couple of final things. I do make a guest spot appearance in the Quantum Zone. It's a podcast about Quasar. Yeah, believe it or not, he's one of my fave characters as well on the cosmic side of things. Again, this is a Capes and Lunatics Sidekicks podcast. So I had fun time with Phil, Will, and Matt on that. That was a lot of fun. We do the What If issue 25. And finally, it should have dropped not that long ago. So when this podcast comes out, it should have dropped just yesterday. It's another Signal of Doom episode with David Finn. I jump in there as well, and I have a good old chat with Dave about comics and pop culture news. It's a lot of fun. Episode 129, go check it out. Anyway, Josh, there was a...
Quick, if I can,
yeah, of course.
If I can just say so. Yeah. So actually, the last time I was on, I was actually talking to you about possibly starting up my own podcast, and I've actually followed through with it. And I've recorded the first 2 episodes of my own podcast, which is called Panels of War, which is a little play. It's a little play on the Annals of War, which is the history of warfare, blah blah blah. But yeah, so I have recorded. I haven't released them yet because I'm still trying to figure out some stuff, and I might have a couple questions for you after we're recording, if that's okay. But yeah, so I've recorded my first 2 episodes of that, and I have them all edited. I just have to release them yet. And so I've gone through the my reading record or thing I was reading the last time. Garth Ennis's War Stories. I've done the first 2 parts of the 3-parter Castles in the Sky story. So
cool.
So if anyone is interested in that, keep keep a lookout for it, or I do have a Facebook page already made for it if anyone wants to go to it. Just Panels of War podcast.
Oh, okay, yeah, for sure. We'll definitely add this in the show notes as well. So just check out the link in this episode, and that will take you to Josh's Facebook page on Panels of War. That's awesome, Josh. That's cool stuff. I'm definitely going to be listening to that when it's released as well. I know. I think when we interviewed Jason Burrows, he enjoyed some war comics as well. So we'll hit Jason Burrows up. Give him a listen.
Which, speaking of which, this can sort of fall into like the news a little bit too. If anyone saw, I posted in the group, but the upcoming what's the word, like ads. Jason Burrows is finally doing some more Marvel stuff, and he's doing with Garth Ennis. Go figure. Yes. For Punisher Soviet, which I might actually pick that one up.
Oh, I'm going to pick it up as well. I mean, big fan of Jason Burrows, very nice bloke as well. And Loonies, I don't know, long-time listeners would have remembered Josh. So Jason actually dropped that as a bit of a scoop all the way back in episode 50. He said that he was working on a Marvel and I asked him, just a couple of weeks ago, I said, Jason, was this what you were alluding to in that episode ages ago? He goes, yeah, it took a while, but
wow.
yeah. So we thought it was going to be a Daredevil title. We thought it was going to be a Blade title, but no, it's a Punisher one, which is just as good. So anyway, Loonies are out. Panels of War, that's going to be cool. Alrighty, well, we are going to take a short break. We're going to hear from a couple of our fellow collective members. When we come back, we'll get into this Acts of Vengeance event. Catch you soon.
I am Connor from the House of L.
And I am Ray from the House of Zod.
We are two of the many, many survivors of Krypton's destruction, and we have made our home in Australia, and dare I say, have become Australians, for better or worse. But we have also decided to read Superman comics, read Superman books, watch Superman shows, cartoons, movies, basically everything Superman, and from an Australian perspective as well. Whether you're a seasoned fan, like me,
or whether you are coming in fresh, wide-eyed and wanting to learn more like me, then this podcast is for you. Join us for our bi-weekly adventures available on all good podcast catchers.
So just search for Last Sons of Krypton, a Superman podcast. We'll be coming to you from Australia or some cosmic dimension, wherever we are that week.
Up, and away.
Hi, this is Dave.
And I'm Stu, and we're from the Signal of Doom.
We're proud members of the Collective, and you're listening to Into the Night, a Moon Knight podcast.
Yes, welcome back, Looney listeners. You are listening to Into the Night, a Moon Knight podcast. This is episode 111, legs 11 plus a walking stick. And I'm here with co-host Josh Geronimo Johnson. We're here to unpack for you the massive 1990 event, Acts of Vengeance. We've kind of started a little. I got too excited, Josh. We went straight into it. Then I had to kind of put a pin in it, so to speak. And yeah, we had to backtrack to do a bit of news, but we're here now. So, Josh, as you mentioned, this was an event to get all the big kahunas together, trying to kind of mix things up a little, try to discombobulate the heroes. One of the questions I was going to ask you, Josh, I can't actually remember if I already asked it, but so I'll ask it again. So you were mentioning, these bigwigs, Magneto, Mandarin, Red Skull, all kind of being manipulated by Loki, right? And then during the Moon Knight issue with Killer Shrike and Ringer and Coach Whip, he talks about the city, and the other ones, talking about the city being in chaos because of all these superheroes doing stuff. So what do you know what exactly happened? Did all the fights? Did they all get taken out onto the street in public, which caused this whole thing? Because my impression was that it didn't. Like, I thought they were all in different places here and there, but I didn't. Was there any comic that actually encapsulated this? Like, was there a big throwdown in the city of New York?
Well, so if we refer to my little spreadsheet here, I have pretty much where the place of each like issue takes place. A lot of it is just in general New York. It's not, unless it's like specifically stated, like some of them it's like, okay, like the Captain America 365 was at the Statue of Liberty. Like Fantastic Four 334 was at the Baxter Building. A lot of Spider-Man ones are at the Daily Bugle, but there's other ones where it's just it's never stated where. It's just somewhere in New York.
Okay, well, were there a lot of references, because you've done all the extensive reading, were there references in each of these issues similar to the Moon Knight ones, where the public are kind of going, our cities, there are superheroes turning over cars, just causing general chaos in the city? Did you get a sense of that, or was it just, yeah?
No, it was just, a lot of them was just like, oh, well, I need to go after a hero because that's what Kingpin, paid me to do, and stuff like. Yeah, it's not, like I said, it's not like when you hear the concept, it sounds really good, but when you actually read it, it's just like, no, it's not like, they just go after the hero just because, and you don't really see the interaction like with the public or whatever, and even like in this one, not to get too far ahead, but. Because the Moon Knight ones were the first Acts of Vengeance I read. I read them a couple years ago. They're the only thing that I read of it, at first. And in here, it makes it seem like all this is happening in like a day, and that's why like there's like a building's on fire and people are afraid of people in costumes. But then they do say in this one that it's happened like over the course of a week. But then the Spider-Man one, it says it's happened over the course of several weeks. So I think one of the problems is because it's spread so far through so many different titles, and because there's so many people, there's so many cooks in the kitchen. Yeah, it's like sometimes it feels like it's in one day. Other times it feels like the whole thing is spread out. Like the editors, I don't think, kept it reined in as much as they should, which made me think, because like I said, because this is all like the whole thing is like 60 some issues, which I do think is way too long. I think it would have served its purpose more, and this kind of ties in nice because you guys just talked about the Atlantis Attacks thing last episode, where almost every annual that came out that year tied into Atlantis Attacks. This would have been better if it would have just taken place in the annuals.
Yeah, right. I get you. Yeah. I mean, it's certainly very ambitious, isn't it? It's amazingly, But as you say, it seemed like it was a bit too hard to pull together. Were there any? I guess most of them would be the Avengers, right, and Captain America issues that actually served as almost the core books, because there were no core books, right, for this event. They were just all throughout. There was no like Acts of Vengeance number 1, number 2, number 3. It's just like I said, like they each had different banners where like, I think the ones that had like the big like your main issues, which really you could just read the main ones and that's fine. You kind of get the whole crux of the story, but that's like the couple of Avengers books, so like Avengers West Coast, and Avengers Spotlight. I think Captain America, Iron Man, Thor. The X-Men, and I think that's it for all. Oh, and Fantastic Four. Those are the 8 that had like the main banners on it. Those are like your main ones, and those are the better ones in my opinion too. For the most part. What did the Fantastic Four super adapt it? Okay, I was just thinking because retrospectively, Josh, it would have been really hard to actually read it in order, if you know what I mean. I mean, the advantage of having a core book is that you got, X Avengers number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and at least you can use that as a starting off point. If, as you say, the main banners were all those titles, like going back now, I mean, it's easy enough during the day because, chronologically you go through it, but going back now, having to go through, okay, which is technically the first part? How do they kind of work together? A lot of the stories in the Fantastic Four, Iron Man, Captain America, Avengers, are they concurrent events, or do you have to read one to know that is sequential to the other? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's very confusing in that way. That's why I thought this Acts of Avengers was very broad, and I didn't know there was this differentiation that you mentioned, Josh, until now about the banner and the little corner, the little dog ear at the corner. That actually makes a lot of sense. But to go back and read it would be very hard to do unless you've got like a list similar to yours, Josh, and to know, okay, I've got to read this one first, this one for next, and all that. Let it be known as well, Loonies, if you are interested, there was an omnibus actually released of this. I'm not sure if it had... You're saying it has 60-odd issues. I'm not sure an omnibus... Maybe it can cater to 60 issues, but that's a massive amount of comics.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think omnibuses are around 40, aren't they? 40, 50?
Right.
So
Well, I think if I remember looking at it a while ago, I think this one is mainly just a tie-in one, like the ones with the one in the corner, not the main one. So.
Oh, the omnibus.
Yeah, I think so. I don't remember, to be honest.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to get it. I've been eyeing it off on eBay for ages, but then, just...
Yeah, they're expensive.
It's expensive, and, there's something else pops up that I want. So anyway, yes, sorry, back on track. So we've got this a synopsis event, okay? Now, let's focus in on Moon Knight now. So, as you mentioned, there were 3 issues which covered the Acts of Vengeance time. It's Marc Spector Moon Knight issues 8, 9, and 10. Largely, I think all 3 of them written by Chuck Dixon, penciled by Sal Velluto. So I think for all of them, just from memory. So anyway, with this mayhem going around, obviously, and as you said, Josh, the Moon Knight issues have been dog-eared, so they're kind of not the main, they're not the core kind of books. How about the actually, Josh, why don't you read the synopsis to actually cover it all, and then we'll get into it.
Okay. Moon Knight alongside Midnight team up with Punisher to take down Ultimatum, led by Flag Smasher. Then, while helping civilians in crisis, Moon Knight is attacked by Killer Shrike, Ringer, and Coach Whip. Killer Shrike destroys the Mooncopter and injures Frenchie, but escapes while Ringer and Coach Whip are defeated.
So that's pretty much it. The 3 issues 8, 9, and 10, actually issues 8 and 9 tie together. So there's basically 2 parts to this, aren't there, Josh? So Moon Knight actually has a couple of Acts of Vengeance events. The first one, he teams up with the Punisher and he goes up against Flag Smasher and Ultimatum. And in these issues, Josh, I guess the purpose of Flag Smasher is that during this chaos, again, apparently there's chaos in the city, and Flag Smasher and Ultimatum are using that as a distraction, diversion, and whilst that all happens and the superheroes are all dealing with that, they want to actually transfer weapons and ammunition across to some of their puppet groups, to bring down their... Basically, Ultimatum are terrorists, and they just want to bring the downfall of all the countries. A very ambitious ideology.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah,
so
they want to plunge the entire world basically into anarchy, and the ground zero is New York. Good luck.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Very, very ambitious. So anyway, so they try and do it. The Punisher's been tracking them for a long time. And anyway, he teams up with Moon Knight, which I think was a really cool team up, Josh. Just before we get into that, a little side note, I looked up on Wiki here. I actually didn't know Ultimatum stood for something. It is underground, liberated, totally integrated mobile army to unite mankind. So, if you can remember that, or I'll just say, just stick to SHIELD, just remember that. Right. So, anyway, so just call them Ultimatum. Yeah, so you'd be familiar with them with basically a predominantly white outfit with a white mask and black berets. So they're kind of like, they're kind of like AIM or Hydra. They've got a lot of goons, and they're headed by Flag Smasher. So I guess talking about this issue, Josh, again, we're going to go through just particular aspects. Any comments on writing, the art, any themes brought up, the characterizations of the characters themselves, and references to any other runs. So Josh, what did you think of? I guess we can do 8 and 9 kind of together. Did you enjoy it, the writing wise?
Yeah, I enjoyed these 2 issues better than issue number 10. Like, I feel like there's an actual story going on with the Punisher, Moon Knight, and Midnight sort of, to try to take Ultimatum down. And I think it's done pretty well. I like how I always like these kind of street level stories where there's this big organization, and then throughout the course of the story they just get taken down one at a time until they're pretty much defeated. Yep. So that's pretty much what happens here, and I really enjoy those kind of stories.
Yeah, it was a good story, and this is a good example of how tangential it is to actually the Acts of Vengeance. You could argue the fact, Josh, as well, that it didn't actually have to be tied to Acts of Vengeance. There could have been another motivation for Flag Smasher and Ultimatum to launder their weapons. It didn't have to do any. It didn't have anything to do with, it was not intrinsically linked to the acts of the Mandarin or Magneto or Red Skull or Loki. They just used that as an excuse to do their stuff. So in that regard as well, Josh, I enjoyed it because it was kind of like a self-contained thing. Self-contained issue. And the main thing I thought with the writing here with Chuck Dixon, and we all know Chuck Dixon, he loves the Punisher character.
Yeah.
So there's no surprises that he's included him here. And he actually has a sizable role in this, in these 2 issues. A lot of the narrative is actually through the Punisher's thoughts. So you get an insight, and what I thought was really interesting, you get an insight into what he thinks of Moon Knight. And there's a massive respect, isn't there, that he has for him.
Yeah. Well, it's actually good that you guys did the
annual?
Punisher, the annual, because prior to that, I didn't know that was their first meeting. I haven't read that. I don't listen to your episode. But when I was reading this beforehand, before I listened to your last episode, I was like, how does Punisher know that Marc Spector is Moon Knight? Because he doesn't call him Moon Knight. He just refers to him as Spector. So he knows all about him. And I didn't know that they had met up in that Punisher annual beforehand.
Yeah. Well, and in that Punisher annual as well, you see it that Mark reveals his identity is not really hidden, really. And in the Punisher annual, he shows his face to Frank, and you see it at the end of issue 9. After he gets pulled up from the boat, he takes his mask off as well. So there's a very, I don't know what you call a buddy between the 2, and there's that kind of mutual respect that Frank has. He continually talks about how Moon Knight's a natural at what he does, at being like a soldier, basically, / kind of ninja. I mean, he's pretty stealthy, but I liked it, and I think you had a note there, Josh, as well. That they're not fighting, which is good. It's just them working together.
Yeah, because a lot of in the round robin prelude that we did, and then also in the Blood Brothers later on in this arc, both of those times they're pretty much just fighting each other the whole time.
Yeah, and it's interesting also as well because Chuck does morally put them at loggerheads still. I mean, there's that time where I think I mentioned before where the Punisher wants to shoot Anarchy and kill her, and Moon Knight's like, no, don't do that. You don't have to kill if you don't have to. And then, and this is one of the themes that I put in as well. There's also this kind of parallel between the Punisher and Flag Smasher as well. This is, common. This is, not. It's been tread before with Punisher about his morals and his modes and motivations and what he does, and how it's kind of like he's an anti-hero. So that's kind of brought up again with Flag Smasher, because both of them obviously want to kill. Anarchy certainly wants to kill, but Moon Knight doesn't. So they're not totally aligned, I think, Moon Knight and Punisher.
Yeah, I think it's just they just happen to cross paths and they're just working together just to accomplish a common goal. Plus, I'm sure Moon Knight would rather have the Punisher out of his side to take on Ultimatum than Midnight, considering Midnight is pretty useless.
Yeah, that's one of my points as well. Moon Knight doesn't really... he hates him, doesn't he? It's point of frustrating to have him around. He goes, stupid kid, because he goes missing. He doesn't meet up with Frenchie at the rendezvous point, so... yeah. Anyway, with art then. So, did you enjoy the art? Sal Voluto, Josh?
Yeah, I did enjoy it. Like, I don't really have any notes for it because it just seems pretty standard for the time. But I mean, I do enjoy it.
Yeah, I had it because I'm a big fan of the Christopher Priest Black Panther run, and Sal Voluto was the artist for that, a very long run. I'm sure. I think it's about maybe 50 or 60, just off the top of my head, issues as well. It's quite a long issue, but he was fantastic in that, Sal Voluto. I also believe he did that Black Panther Moon Knight crossover in the Black Panther comic. Remember when Moon Knight, they both fought Nightmare? I
haven't read that one, so no, I don't know about that one.
I think at least Sal Voluto did the covers for that. But anyway, his art in this, I think, is pretty solid. It's still very much early days, you can see as well. I mean, he has improved a lot since then. And by the time he was at Black Panther, it was like chalk and cheese, his art. But still serviceable, I think. Yeah. And a lot of the faces are good, so...
I think my favorite panel in these three issues is the start of issue number 9, where you have these little hoodlums. They're going through the cemetery, and they're like spray painting the mausoleum, and then they look up, or because Moon Knight says something, and he's standing on top of the mausoleum. He's crouched up, and he has his arms up, and he's just like boo, and he scares them. And I think that's probably the best panel and splash page in the entire.
I totally agree as well. I made a snapshot of that when I read that because I was so impressed with it. So, I might throw that into the group somewhere because it's pretty cool. I just noticed, Josh, one of the criminals, he's got an Egyptian ankh as an earring in that.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So cool. I don't know, maybe just a little bit of a in joke or something. I don't know, a bit of an Egyptian reference there. So, so I think the art's very good. There's nothing really to... it reminds me a lot of Tom Palmer. Who's the other guy? I think it's Paul Ryan was the Avengers artist around this time as well. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, excellent. Cool. Themes, Josh. So, themes from these two, from this arc, which is basically the Punisher Flag Smasher arc. Anything there?
I just have patience, in regards to Jeff, because we actually talked about this in our Midnight episode. But in this one, at the start of the arc, Moon Knight and Midnight are going to they're observing one of Marc's his company holdings, and basically Midnight is sort of learning the tropes that most of the superheroing is a lot of waiting around for something to happen.
Yeah.
And of course, Midnight's like, oh, this sucks. I want to be out there punching people and stuff. This is boring. And then something does happen. Then you have the cops chasing that one car of hoodlums, the Ultimatum hoodlums. And then Jeff is like, all right, let's go. And then he just goes and chases after him and crashes into the Ultimatum hideout. And so he's not patient and he's not willing to learn. He just wants to go out and fight and doesn't care about the consequences.
Yeah, he's very much a stereotypical kind of, fresh, wet behind the ears kind of sidekick. It's funny to see, and I like the idea that he was very impatient, And then you hear that Frank has been there waiting 3 days, I think, staking out the area. So he knows what he's doing. He's got patience. Very, very different ends of the spectrum for Midnight and Moon Knight. I had a note as well about this dynamic between Moon Knight and Midnight. So you do really see how annoyed Moon Knight is at having him around, and how Midnight is more of a hindrance to him. And and anyway, this obviously plays on. So if we're talking about underlying tones, this will feed into later on with the eventual, I guess, resentment of Midnight towards Moon Knight. When Mark's away in the trial of Marc Spector, we see Midnight takes over his costume from a costume store, just gets a Moon Knight costume, and he parades as Moon Knight. We see in the round robin, very resentful towards Moon Knight as well. So, and that was funny as well. That round robin, didn't Moon Knight at the end say, "Oh, well, I didn't really like him anyway," when he died?
No, I think his words are. I've read that so many times. I think I have a vivid memory. But it was like, I just never thought he would go bad. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, I guess this is very consistent with the, what do you call it? It's the subplot of Moon Knight and Midnight as they go, and Midnight does continue. He gets better, but the relationship is never. They never see really eye to eye in that. With characterization, I guess that feeds into Josh Midnight's impatience about crime fighting. You mentioned, and we talked about how Moon Knight and the Punisher they work well together. You're talking about the kids in the cemetery. Funny, but that was a bit of a weird one from Mark. Just playing silly buggers. I don't know.
It makes sense because, like, they're sitting there because they're staking out the ultimatum warehouse, and they're trying, and you don't need those stupid kids. A, they're vandalizing graves, which is fucked up to begin with. But B, it's like, do we really need them in the way? And I think it is funny because also Moon Knight wears that white, so he sort of looks like a ghost. It's sort of like that Scooby-Doo kind of moment.
Yeah.
So it is. I think it's funny. I like it, but it is also weird coming from Moon Knight. But
it is a little bit of levity, I guess. It's a nice opener there from Chuck Dixon. So we also mentioned already characterizations. I think I mentioned earlier about how Moon Knight is not a killer here. He's pretty much in the same mold as a lot of the superheroes, because he goes up against Punisher saying no, don't kill. That's not the right thing. All that kind of stuff. Okay, Josh, I'm going to be a little nerdy here. The next few points I've got are characterization. Very geeky, okay? I've really kind of nitpicked this. So we hear in issues 8 and 9, right? I think he mentions to the Punisher, or the Punisher mentions it to him, something along the lines of, there are supervillains out and about. There are heavies going around, and they're way out of our league, Also, later on in issue 10 as well, Moon Knight is not too keen to take on people who are superpowered, or he mentions, I guess, Killer Shrike flying. He goes, I hate people who fly,
Right.
This is, I think, against a lot of the Doug Mensch Moon Knight, what he set up, and some of Moon Knight today, even if you look at the Moon Knight annual with Kang versus Kang, one of the things I love about Moon Knight is that he's not afraid to actually take on opponents vastly more powerful than him. And then we see that with Mensch as well. Like Morpheus, for one, is a massively powerful opponent, and Moon Knight, we see in the Mensch run, just kind of goes up against him, doesn't care less about that. So I found that was kind of a bit of a conflict of his characterization in these issues, where he's actually concerned about going up against supervillains, because I don't believe he would. I believe he'd just throw himself into it, So that was one point of characterization. The other point I think I've got, just reading off the notes here, he didn't want Anarchy to be shot by the Punisher, so his moral compass is a lot firmer. The other thing here, my happy point here. So Moon Knight also comments on Flag Smasher, and he seems to struggle against him. And he refers to him as quite a big fella and all that. And I did a little check on Wikipedia. Flag Smasher, he's 6'2", and he is 235 pounds, or here for Australians and Europeans, he's 107 kilos. He's a big unit, right? I then checked Mark, or Moon Knight, and he is at 6'2" as well. So he's the same height as this guy. And he's at 225 pounds, so 102 kilos. He's 5 kilos lighter, but not that much off, right? So, again, I thought maybe the writers could have done their research. Moon Knight, what I guess I'm saying here is that Moon Knight is no, he's no beanpole. He's a pretty big, he's a heavyweight boxer as well. He's a huge guy as well. So, it kind of alerted me when he was struggling against Flag Smasher. Maybe Flag Smasher is just inherently stronger than him. I don't know, but he seemed to struggle. Anyway, those were my points and characterizations, Josh.
Yeah, I'm just looking right now just because I never really picked that up. I don't know. I think maybe Flag Smasher is a little more muscly, so maybe he might only be, 5 kilos more? But maybe he has more muscle than Moon Knight.
5 kilos of muscle more. Okay, maybe. Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, look, this is just a service for, we had a request for being more detailed and in-depth. I went for the details there. So, yeah. Anyway, finally, Josh, I guess again for just 8 and 9, probably can say it for all of 8, 9, and 10. References to other runs. What have we got here? Obviously, there's a reference to Acts of Vengeance, as you say. The whole thing.
Obviously.
Josh, would it be okay to? Well, I haven't discussed it with you beforehand, but maybe your spreadsheet, maybe making that available on our group at some point.
That's part of the reason why I sort of did it, because then if you can put it in in the show notes or whatever,
yes,
that's fine. That way people can look over it. And,
okay, fantastic.
So they can sort of know, because there's actually, because I guess I should have mentioned this before we jumped into this, but there's actually probably there's 2 main things when people hear Acts of Vengeance that they think of, but there's actually sort of 5 biggish things that happen that sort of affect the Marvel universe as a whole, sort of. Does that make sense? Do you want me to go into them now? Okay, so probably when people first hear Acts of Vengeance, the 2 things that people probably think of are Spider-Man getting cosmic powers and punching the Hulk into space.
Oh, yes. Did he punch the Hulk into space? I can't remember that, but cool.
It's not as cool as you think it would be, to be honest.
Oh, okay.
But everyone sort of knows it because it's like, holy crap, Which then the Hulk tie-in issues don't reference that at all.
No, right. Yeah.
And the other thing most people probably know is in the Thor issues 411, 412, which Thor versus Juggernaut, but that's also the introduction of the New Warriors. That's their first appearance.
Oh, it is too, isn't it? Yes. Yep. Right, because I'm just bringing back memories. Yeah, wow. So that's their first appearance. That's cool.
That's Night Thrasher's actual first appearance. The other characters, they had already appeared, but this is the first all coming together as a team.
Together, yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez, Night Thrasher's getting a bit of a rebirth, isn't he? He's coming back.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely excited to read about him in that upcoming Punisher 15 with Moon Knight too. Let's see.
So we've got New Warriors. We've got the cosmic powered Spidey.
Yeah. There is, so in the Avengers 311, the Avengers Hydro Base. Now, just to backtrack a little bit, in a story called Under Siege in the Avengers, which is one of the best Avengers stories, the Avengers Mansion is actually destroyed there. So the Avengers basically take up this, I think it's just an abandoned facility that's on an island in the Bay of New York Harbor. So they take that up, and that's called the Avengers Hydro Base. Now in Avengers 311, I assume it's Doom bots that are sent out to attack the base, and they end up destroying the Avengers Hydra base, and it plummets down to the bottom of the bay. So now, again, the Avengers base is destroyed because all that was there was Quasar, Peggy Carter, and some other Avengers deploys because all the other ones are out there fighting or doing their other thing. Right. So the Avengers, they lose their base.
Oh, and then
after that, they end up getting in the second Avengers mansion. That's the one that's in the shape of the A, if you've ever seen that.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so that's why they have that. So that's another big thing that happens.
Oh, right, wow. Some renovations. Big renovation there for the Avengers. Yeah, okay, right. I mean, for me, that big one is... that Spidey getting cosmic powers is such a cool thing, I think.
Okay. There's actually two more big things, too, real quick.
Oh, okay, yeah, sorry, yeah.
Sorry, yeah. This one's not really a big thing, but it's sort of... Well, it comes into play much later on, but in the Fantastic Four... Mainly in the Fantastic Four issues, but it's sort of hinted at here and there in other issues. But the Fantastic Four actually go to court and deal with it. But this is also a running thread of the Superhuman Registration Act. Which
what? Really?
Obviously that comes into play in Civil War. But the Fantastic Four issues are purely dedicated to that, where Reed Richards is in court and talking to Congress or whatever about the Superhuman Registration Act and why is it necessary, is it not? So this is 15 years before Civil War. Yeah.
Wow. So that's been on the cards for ages. Right. I wonder if I wonder if that was like, obviously done in acts of vengeance, but whether they kind of lifted that off, going, oh, hang on, we could run with this. Let's make that into like Civil War, which, as many comic book fans would know, is like one of the most memorable events in Marvel, events in my eyes, I guess. So yeah, wow, okay.
Yeah, so that goes all the way back to there. Well, then before that, you had like the Mutant Registration Act. It's been going on for years for the most part, but that actually, and it, like the Fantastic Four issues, they don't really tie in. That the only thing that really ties them into Acts of Vengeance is, well, because we have to have some sort of villain show up. Like the court hearing just keeps getting interrupted by villain just showing up. But if you just read just those issues, it's actually really good. Just them just talking about that.
Okay.
So I really recommend that one.
Is that Walt Simonson? That's about his run, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, I believe it is. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. I think I've got vision in my head. I think I've got there's one where it's a green cover, right? With the I'm seeing it now with the banner on top, and the Fantastic Four. I think I just lifted that from my folks' place not that long ago.
Yeah,
okay,
that's
cool.
One of them.
Okay, cool.
And then the other big thing. Now, this isn't necessarily big to me because of all like the Marvel stuff, the ones that I just don't like at all is X-Men. I'm
really?
X-Men
okay.
I cannot stand the X-Men.
I know where you're going with this, because I've got these issues and these were massive in the day. But yeah, go on. I know this one.
But in this one, this is actually when Psylocke, or Betsy Braddock, she actually gets. This is when she gets turned into the sexy Asian ninja.
Yes.
By body that everyone knows her for.
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually the work of the Mandarin.
Yep. And the hand as well, right?
And the hand, yeah.
Yeah. So. That is a big thing, isn't it? Because it's so weird, because I remember when I first got that as well. That was a massive issue because a mate of mine who I pit is one of the reasons why I don't like a lot of Batman stuff, because he was a huge Batman fan. Anyway, I was a huge Wolverine fan. We always were kind of like comparing notes. Anyway, one of these Acts of Vengeance issues, it's the one with Wolverine cutting up Mandarin. Anyway, I think it was that one. The last page, Psylocke is revealed, and she gives him that, the psychic blade through his head.
Right.
And then it looks like it just kills him. And I remember just be going, oh, what the hell? And my mate was saying, he's dead now. I mean, we all know comics, though. It's not, they're never dead. But yeah, wow.
So there's a lot of crap, but there's a lot of stuff that also
that's still. I mean, it's only recently that Psylocke is now reverted back to her original Caucasian appearance. That happened in The Hunt for Wolverine, I believe, which was just
That was
last year.
Yeah, last year, yeah.
Last year, yeah. So, yeah, cool. Yeah, so big things moving and shaking during Acts of Vengeance. Alrighty, well, Josh, shall we get into... I mean, we've got just issue 10 now, which is a little different.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned in the synopsis, basically it's a big fight, which is cool. But there are these random villains, and literally random. Killer Shrike is just tearing up police cars or something in the middle of New York. He's got the SWAT team against him. Ringer comes out of nowhere and says, "Hey, do you want to team up? We can actually go kill some superheroes." And then they find Coach Whip on top of a building, just flailing around with her whips. And she says, "Yeah, let's go." And they form a little motley crew, and they team up to go against Moon Knight in here. Writing, Josh, what did you think of this issue compared to the... I mean, there's a lot more to it than that.
Yeah.
But what did you make of this issue?
Like I said, there's some good and some bad. Just right off the gate, Ringer and Coach Whip, they suck. They're bad. I've never heard of them beforehand, and I've never heard of them since. And I don't like how it's just, oh, there's another person with powers, he's a villain, let's just team up. And this doesn't make any sense. And they all come to New York, or if if they don't already live there, just to all the other people are, heroes and villains are fighting. We want to get on that action too. It's really? Yeah. Wouldn't you? That's why I like the ultimatum stuff, because they're using that as cover, sort of. These guys are just I'm going to go out and fight. It's at least rob a bank or something, I
know. They're just silly. They're just wanting attention and stuff. And actually, let me just backtrack as well. I forgot to mention. So, obviously, Acts of Vengeance, the big thing here, Josh, is that heroes are fighting villains that they're not used to. And that's a big kind of gimmick in here, which makes it really cool. And that's what Acts of Evil is kind of doing. That's why we see Moon Knight will be up against Kang, villains that they will never usually come across. Anyway, so, Flag Smasher. Did my research as well. Flag Smasher is a Swiss citizen. His name's Karl Morgenthau, and he's usually a Captain America villain. So he and Ultimatum. Yep. So and also we have so that Ultimatum as well, the same thing. With Killer Shrike, his name's Simon Maddox. Now on the wiki, he doesn't turn up all that often. He actually goes up against Ulysses Bloodstone first, the monster hunter, and he later then becomes more of a villain for the likes of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Avengers. But yeah, so that's where he kind of... Then we have Beatrix Keener, aka Coach Whip. She's more of she had dealings with the Serpent Society, so she's very much more a Captain America villain as well. And then with the Ringer, so the Ringer that we see in the issue is Keith Craft, and as mentioned, he's not the original Ringer. The original Ringer, his name's Anthony Davis, and let me just check here. I think he is. He later became known as Strikeback, and he is. I may have gotten this wrong. Sorry, internet. Why are you doing this to me? Anyway, he origin Nighthawk. So actually, he fought Nighthawk as well, and he's known as a Spider-Man villain as well. So, so there you go. Just looking at his and his first appearance though was in the Defenders in 1977. So we're talking Defenders. We're talking who's that? The old school ones. I guess Hulk and
Silver Surfer, Doc Strange,
or
Valkyrie.
Valkyrie, yeah. So the old school of Defenders. So that's where the original Ringer came from. The Ringer that we see in Moon Knight, Keith Craft, he actually, I think he begins and ends in that Moon Knight run. So we actually don't know who he really fights. He's just a bit of a villain. So there you go. So they're all kind of mixed match. Most of them from Captain America, from S.H.I.E.L.D., from the Avengers. Yeah. So sorry. Anyway, Josh, back to issue 10. it's a bit loose, isn't it? The reason why they're there, they're just kind of, and Coach Whip, as I said, she's just on the rooftop. You know, she's just looking for trouble.
Yeah.
So a bit loose, a bit flimsy, the story. But the fight scenes are pretty cool. What did you make of the opening? It's a bit of a strange opening, isn't it?
See that? Yeah, like that's what I really like about this issue. It's not him fighting the random villains. It's him sort of interacting with, you know, regular people, like being like sort of like, you know, a friendly neighborhood Moon Knight, sort of.
Pretty much so. That's what I thought. Yeah.
But I really like the opening, and so the opening basically is a girl who's standing on a rooftop, and she, you know, decides to jump off, like to commit suicide, and then he swings by and, you know, grabs her as she's falling, and then when they get back on the rooftop, he talks, you know, like asks her what's going on, why, and of course, like, you know, like most kids who have suicidal thoughts, it's over something that's not really warrants that to happen. It's because she's failing her grades, her grades are bad, so she's failing her college, and so she decides, I'm going to commit suicide for it. And then Moon Knight's, so you think that'll make your parents happy that you're dead instead of a bad report card?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he does pose a lot of logic to it, and immediately she's kind of like, oh, yeah. Like, she's immediately remorseful at what she actually was trying to do.
I will say, because like the first 2 pages, like when that happens, it's good, and then when you turn the page, because like Moon Knight's saying how, it's not worth to kill yourself over, and then like when you turn the page, like page 3, and then he's like, or page 4, I guess, he's like, I take your problems any day. It's like, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Like, now that was a dick thing to say, and then she's like, sorry that I wasted your time, you know, you saving me. It's like, you didn't need to say that. You could have just left it.
No.
You could have just left it be.
It kind of like that comment kind of stokes the fire a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah.
But I will say that this predates probably the other, probably similar scene that people know, and maybe you know about this since you have another podcast about, but there's a Superman issue where sort of the similar thing happens. I don't remember which one it is.
There is actually. I think we reviewed it as well because we were talking about it.
Isn't it All Star Superman or Birthright? One of those two.
It is one of those. Yeah. We've covered All Star. It might be All Star then. I've read Birthright, but we haven't covered that on the show. It could be All Star. Yeah, there was one, and there's one also in there's one in Deadpool as well by Jerry Duggan. It's not that long ago. It was a very powerful issue, like very well written. I can't remember the issue for that, but maybe I should put that as a note. But yeah. No, it was a good opener as well. It kind of threw me a little because it's nothing to do with. I guess it's a new story, so but it's just like, this is an interesting way to open it up. And
that girl actually serves a purpose later on, because then she's the one that she takes out Coach Whip.
She does? Okay.
Yeah,
She kept on. I know she ended up with the family that was from the fire, and she kept on paraphrasing Moon Knight. I didn't pick that up.
Yeah, because she blasts Coach Whip with the hose, like what Spider-Man does to Electro.
Oh, right. Okay. Yep. Right, I missed that. I totally missed that. Hang on. Where are you looking at here? Not that I don't believe you, but am I missing a page?
Page 27.
Page 27. Okay. Right. Anyway, so I see Coach Whip fly away. Foul ups. So there's I think I'm missing a page here. I've got a digital copy. Just looking at here. So there's one where Coach Whip is getting up, and she says foul ups, and he says, "Give me a break." And then the next page, it's got Moon Knight racing towards Frenchie.
Okay, no, you're missing a page then.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So basically, so they are. so Coach Whip, she's doing her whips, which the design I have it written in the ARP. I'll just say now, stupidest designs for whips I've ever seen because there's no design. It's just a dashed line. That's all it is.
Yeah, they're pretty bad.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
Anyways, so she's whipping her stuff out, and then she gets hit with a burst from a fire hose. And then that's Lula because she's like saying, because what does Moon Knight tell her? If you can't help, get out of the way. And so she decides, I'm going to do that. And yeah, so just like in Amazing Spider-Man 2, the hose is a stream of water from a hose knocks out a villain with electrical powers.
I know you'd think that they would come up with something to stop that. Very simple kind of way to defeat them. Well, that makes a lot more sense, Josh, because the last I saw of Lulu, she was paraphrasing behind a car with the mum and son. And I was thinking, what the hell point was that? And she disappeared, but that missing page explains it all. Yeah, righto. Similar with that. I'm looking at the themes. You've got here themes, obviously. Suicide's not the answer here, Josh. It was a quick little theme at the beginning, a nice little message. I thought there was a little bit, I don't know if it was a message or not, but looking at the people, the mum and the little boy from the fire, there's this thing, I think Chuck Dixon was trying to go somewhere with it, with the little boy being scared of Moon Knight because he's got a mask. He's just like all the other people out there that are damaging and causing fires and stuff. So Moon Knight has to take his mask off and look, I'm just a regular guy. That kind of calms down the boy and they can escape the burning building. But
which was also used in Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it, as well? Yeah. I was wondering, that it seemed familiar, but you're right.
Yeah.
That's right, but that was off the bridge, right, wasn't it? In the car. Yeah. I gotcha. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. Not much else. No real underlying themes here. It's just a big throwdown between these villains and actually, well, underlying tones. It's not really. It's not like a theme. I was going to talk about Frenchie's fate in this. Right. Let's just jump to you've got as a reference to other runs, and this does come up later on, doesn't it?
Yeah, because so what happens is Killer Shrike basically plows through the mooncopter, or he sends it crashing into a building.
Sends it crashing, from a shot of electricity from his hands or something. Yeah.
Right. And so that crashes into a building, and Frenchie is hurt pretty bad. And I think he's. I don't remember if he's not crippled from this.
Yeah, I think he is. Yeah.
Oh, he is, because then he uses because then in issue 34 of Marc Spector, he gets his rematch, and I think he has like the Rhodey leg braces.
Yeah.
And,
Incidentally, issue 34, that's one of my favourite issues of Marc Spector Moon Knight as well. It's Frenchie centric, and you just see how badass he is as well. Like I always say it, he's like a superhero, but he hasn't got a costume. He's pretty good. Like I think he's just as good a merc as Marc Spector as well. And you see he takes on Killer Shrike, who's for all intents superpowered. So so that happens, as you mentioned, Josh, in issue 34, a fair way down. So we're talking it's another 2
years.
2 years down the track. Yeah.
2 years exactly, actually, considering 10.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what else have we got here? Characterization. I don't have much of the characterization here, other than what I mentioned before about Moon Knight being wary of fighting superpowered beings. Was anything else here from the cast? Frenchie, he seemed pretty on point as well. Had a bit more of a role as well. He got to use his 20mm cannons. On
the trucks in issue 9, yeah.
Oh, issue 9. Yeah, sorry, that was issue 9. Yeah. But pretty kick-ass moon jet. So that's pretty good. Anything else here, Josh? Oh, you mentioned another reference. If we go to references, you mentioned something about the original Ringer.
Oh yeah, so they say in here somewhere that the original Ringer was killed by the Scourge. Now the Scourge of the Underworld was a story in Captain America 318 to 320, and it was basically this guy called the Scourge would go around and was killing supervillains.
Oh wow!
Pretty much like the ones that are in this, where it's like Z level,
right.
supervillains. And there was one issue, I think it was 319, where he. So have you read? If you've read the recent Spider-Man issues, you had the bar with no name.
Yes. Yep.
That originally appeared way back when, in 1989 or 90, because at the bar of no name, I think it was at like a different location. It might have been outside of the city, but the Scourge, he gathers all these Z level villains there, like for like a meeting, and then he just guns all of them down. I think Ringer was one of them.
Wow, and I think that might be the Anthony Davies that I mentioned, the original Ringer. So, and Anthony Davies, yep. So, right, okay. Well, now this is really cool. I think I'm going to try and add all these in the show notes, Josh, these references as well. So if you want to catch up on Captain America 318 to 320, Scourge of the Underworld, if you want to check out Frenchie rematching Killer Shrike in Marc Spector number 34. I'm going to get this spreadsheet connected somehow to this episode, Josh. It's a lot there. As Josh said, there's about 60 odd issues to cover. If you want to read the whole thing, just refer to Josh's spreadsheet on that. Very cool. All right, well, we might go to Moon ratings now, Josh. I think we'll just rate the Moon Knight ones, right, as a whole. Issues 8, 9, and 10. How we got, what we got from that. What would you give this? And sorry, before we get into that, Moonies, Loonies, everyone, we do have a highly convoluted moon rating system, ranging from 0 to 10, but in the phases of the moon. So 0 being a new moon, a full moon being 10 out of 10, blue moon being very exceptional, beyond 10 out of 10, and everything in between. So out of that, Josh, what would you give Moon Knight 8, 9, Marc Spector Moon Knight 8, 9, and 10, Acts of Vengeance?
So I rated the 8 and 9 together as one, and 10 as the other one, added them together and got an average. So I rated it 8 and 9, I gave about an 8.5.
Okay.
And then 10, I would give about 6.5, so 15 by 2, so I rate the whole thing as 7.5.
Okay. Wow, so a big difference. Sorry, was it 6.5, was it? 6.5 out of 10.
Yeah, I think just the randomness of the villains and the boringness of the villains in number 10, I think really drags it down. Like I said, I do like his whole Moon Knight's interaction with the civilians. I like that a lot. Mm-hmm. And but yeah, other than that, I don't think it's that good of an issue. I prefer 8 and 9 more because I like Moon Knight and Punisher teaming up. And one thing we didn't mention real quick in 8 and 9 is that Moon Knight actually lets Flag Smasher get killed. We assume because they're chasing down on the. Yeah, does
he? He kind of doesn't he? He jumps. What happens? He jumps out of the way or something. He gets out of the boat. But could he help? Could he help Flag Smasher get out? Or
I think he could if he wanted to, but I think at that point he just kind of didn't care. And we don't know if he actually did. It's that standard comic book thing. If you don't see the body, they're not dead.
Yeah.
So he could have just swam away, got out in time.
Yep. Oh, okay. So here, I've got it here looking at it. So he's being strangled by Flag Smasher, and he gets a crescent dart, cuts his cape off so he can actually. So I took that as him, because he's being throttled, or he's about to get done by Flag Smasher. I thought that was the last resort. He cuts his cape and jumps away. But no, look, it's up to interpretation as well. It could easily be. Okay. Yeah. So he does. When the chips are down, when his back is against the wall, he'll. It seems in Marc Spector Moon Knight he'll go for the kill, but it's not like he's doing it for the pleasure of it in, say, which you kind of get the sense of in, say, the Charlie Houston run at the beginning, issue 1, where he's kind of, okay, cool.
It's that I'm going to steal from a Dark Knight, but I'm not going to kill you, but I don't have to save you. That's kind of what it is, I guess.
Okay, yeah.
But I know you mentioned the thing where, like Moon Knight, he doesn't kill, but in the issue 10, he says out loud twice that if Frenchie is dead, he's going to kill or strike.
That's true as well. Absolutely, that's true. But that is built off his emotion, I guess.
Yeah.
He's very emotional. Obviously, very close to Frenchie. Absolutely. Yeah, you're spot on. So he will go there. And look, at the end of the day, he was a merc and he was a soldier, so he did have to deal with it. He's not like a Joe Citizen. Is never killed before, so I'm sure he could easily go back down that path if he needed to. But again, I think there's a point of difference with him and the Charlie Houston Moon Knight interpretation. But no, absolutely. Okay. Well, so 7.5 was your average mark. I'd have to agree as well. I'll give it a 3/4 moon, 7.5. Similar to you, Josh. I didn't do a separate rating, but I much enjoyed 8 and 9 more so than 10. I enjoyed 10 just because of the dumb fun. I kind of enjoyed it for different, just because it was purely just dumb. I mean, like Ringer. They're even making fun of him and calling him in Ringo, and he's not threatening at all. If anything, Killer Shrike is the most kind of threatening because he's the most aggressive. And the big thing about this one though, number 10 is what happens to Frenchie. So that kind of has a bit of a bearing as well. But 8 and 9 still by far, I think, outweigh issue 10. But yeah, I'd give it a 7.5 all up. Quite enjoyable, 7.5. So I mean, really did enjoy reading these. I remember when I first read them, I didn't enjoy them that much. But I don't know, rereading them now, I find them quite enjoyable. So there you go, Loonies. All right, well, look, we might just go ahead here. In our Mooney missives, Josh, we've only got one that I checked. It's only a small one as well. So this is from our Facebook group about the Acts of Vengeance. And it's from Jordan. And Looney Jordan says he loved the Juggernaut versus Thor, one of my favourites. Yeah, Jordan, I couldn't agree with you more. As mentioned, it was a brilliant matchup. Even to the fact, what got me going was Mjolnir. Remember that, Josh, where he actually calls upon the ultimate force or whatever it is, because he can't stop the Juggernaut, and he actually pushes. What does he push the Juggernaut back, or he actually stops him in his tracks? And I remember that. Do you remember that? That was really cool. I'm
trying to remember. Yeah, I think he does. I think he knocks him back. I think
he knocks him back. So the unstoppable force is actually stopped. It was really cool. And then another big takeaway from that Juggernaut Thor thing, I remember. Kitty Pryde, she got fooled, I think, by Loki that Thor was the Juggernaut. So she actually phases him halfway down the pavement, and he actually gets bonded to the pavement. Do you remember that?
I'm sure that's in this one, because...
Okay,
because that doesn't happen in this one.
In the Acts of Vengeance?
Yeah, because Kitty Pryde's not part of the New Warriors.
No, okay, maybe not then. Maybe I'm thinking something, but it was.
Sure, you're not thinking of the movie, because that's what happens in the movie.
No, that does, yeah. No, not at all. Oh, look, I'm gonna have to dig it up. No, it's definitely Thor versus the Juggernaut, because Thor is mistaken for the Juggernaut by Kitty Pryde, and she phases him down, and then he uses his Mjolnir again, and he kind of gets out of it. But he said it was the most painful thing ever, because he's literally molecules were bonded with the molecules of the... Anyway, a very fun issue.
Yeah, that was also like my first reading of Thor, of like in comic form. And at first, because now Thor is one of my favorites, but at first I'm like, because you know how he talks on that old like Shakespearean stuff, and I'm like, fuck, this is hard to read. This is really hard to read. But going back and rereading it now that I'm a big Thor fan, actually, I'm like, oh no, I'm so used to this now, it doesn't bother me at all.
Well, what are your thoughts on the '90s Eric Masterson Thor?
Well, I actually haven't read too much.
Okay.
I've read sort of up to like when he took over, like because he was a supporting character, like up until, and then he actually became then he sort of became the embodiment for Thor. But then at one point, Thor basically became unworthy, and then Eric Masterson himself just became Thor just by himself.
Right.
But I haven't really read much of that. I've only really read up until the point where, when I started reading like the next set of Thor, I started reading. Eric is back to as being Thunderstrike.
Ah, right. Yes.
So I haven't really read that much of Eric Masterson as just Thor.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No worries. It's only because his version of Thor, he doesn't speak the old English. You know, he's very much your modern day guy, but he looks like Thor and all that. And that was in the Avengers. I've only read him through the Avengers comics, so you see it through Operation Galactic Storm and a bit before that as well. But yeah.
And real quick, there actually is another piece of feedback on the.
Oh, is there?
Just
okay.
on the podcast Facebook page. This is from our friend Noel Tate. He said that all I know is that this cemented Chuck Dixon's obsession with Punisher and trying to squeeze him into anything he worked on for me. It's honestly annoying. I could give or take his whole Moon Knight run. Acts of Vengeance was a pretty fun event overall, but the Moon Knight arc has led me kind of
yeah.
Now, since I read all of them, Punisher and the Moon Knight issues, that's the best Punisher story out of the ones that are.
Oh, wow.
Than the actual ones. Because you mentioned before there's a Punisher and Doom one.
Yep.
That is probably the worst Acts of Vengeance story, in my opinion. Yeah,
okay.
Because it's not what you think it is. Because he goes to Latveria because he knows Doctor Doom is involved, and he goes to Latveria, and he sneaks into the castle, which is cool, but then he's sort of captured. But then Doctor Doom doesn't kill him immediately, and they're sitting down and eating dinner and stuff, and it's like, what? But then you wouldn't know this unless you read the Fantastic Four comics from 5, 6, 7 years prior. But there is another Doctor Doom.
Oh, well, just a Doom bot. Oh.
No, it's not a Doom bot. It's this kid has I don't even remember. It's so wacky and so stupid. but the bottom line is Punisher and Doom, they don't even really fight. He goes there, he spends a weekend at Doom's place, and then goes back, and that's pretty much it.
Oh wow! Oh jeez.
Because originally on my spreadsheet, I have on there basically the outcome of the story. Yeah. Usually it's just X villain is defeated, or if something big happens, like the Hydra base gets destroyed. I have that written there. Originally on the result for that one, I literally wrote nothing happens. Because nothing really happens at all.
Oh god! Was that written by Chuck Dixon or Mike Barron or
Mike Barron?
Mike Barron. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay, I've got to ask fellow collective member Dave from Signal of Doom, big Punisher fan. I wonder what he thinks of the Acts of Vengeance. That'd be pretty cool. But actually, that's a really good segue as well, Josh. And thank you, Noel, as well for that feedback. Awesome to hear. Yeah, and Chuck Dixon, he does love his Punisher, so no surprises that he turned up. But I think I'm very happy that he did because I don't know. I like Punisher Moon Knight team ups. I think they're really good. Anyway, good. Yeah, exactly. So and good segue here, Josh, because next phase. Speaking of the Punisher, we have got another new comic book review. So for our Lunar Pick, we'll be looking at Punisher 15 by Matt Rosenberg, and I believe it's still done by Simon Kradransky on art, and this was alluded to in Punisher 14. There's a massive team up, including Moon Knight, our boy, Night Thrasher, as Josh mentioned, Ghost Rider, Black Widow, it's got it all, and Punisher. So this should be a real cracker of a read, and we're going to review it. So again, the Punisher ambushes our show again, but it should be a good one. Josh, any final words? Where can people contact you? If they want to discuss further anything with Acts of Vengeance or Panels of War?
Yeah, well, I did make an email for Panels of War. It's just panelsofwar@gmail.com.
Excellent.
Or they can just message me on Facebook. Like I said, I'm in the group a lot, and I just do that. Or if you want to tweet at me, God, I'm so embarrassed by this, but my Twitter handle is instantbadass12. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So if anyone wants to contact me about either that, or if you want to have any Acts of Vengeance questions, feel free.
Yep. And just a lesson there, Loonies, as well. Just be sure you pick a handle on Twitter that will not come back and bite you in the mouth.
Well, that's because that's like my username for everything. Because because I started using that back when I was like in high school, and that's where like I came up with it. Like it was originally something my English teacher in 10th grade said. So I'm like, oh, that's so badass. I'm going to use that for everything. But now I'm just stuck with it for the rest of my life.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though, I came with that when I was 15. Now I'm 26 and still using it for stuff.
The legacy, it continues. No, Josh, it's been a real pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much again for coming on to the show and for sharing Acts of Vengeance. It's a massive event. I hope we've done it justice as well. And I know we've really kind of nitpicked the Moon Knight issues, but it's been great chatting with you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on again.
Yeah, no worries. And like Josh said, just hit him up in our ITK group. And you can, drop us a line if you'd like as well. So you can find Josh on our Facebook group. That's at facebook.com/group/ITK Moon Knight. It's a really fun group. It's grown exponentially ever since the TV announcement. So it's really fun to meet new Loonies. You can also drop us an email at itkmoonknight@gmail.com. We have a website, intothenightpodcast.wordpress.com. We also have a Libsyn one as well, intothenightLibsyn.com, and that will have all our episodes and all our episode summaries, our newsletters, all that sort of stuff. We've got a Facebook page as well. That's like the front end of our podcast, facebook.com/ITK Moon Knight. That's open to the public. Our group is closed, but if you just have a little gaze at our rules and all that, you can easily enter our group. It's a lot of fun. Also, our handle is at ITK Moon Knight, and we're on Instagram, Tumblr, YouTube. Just search for Into the Night, a Moon Knight podcast. iTunes ratings, if you felt that, we've done a good job with Acts of Vengeance, and you'd like to hear more, please leave us preferably a 5-star review. It just helps us get out there a bit more, to kind of get to the forefront of a lot of search engines and all that sort of pizzazz. And if you didn't like what you hear, just let us know what we can do to improve the show as well. We're always amenable to improving and trying out new things. Also, finally, we're on all good podcast catches, so whatever takes your fancy. Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify. I'd like to also mention Podcoin. We're on that as well, so you can actually earn rewards for listening to podcasts that you like. So I'm on that as well. Eagerly waiting to get enough points so I can get a gift card for Amazon, which is one of the things that you can get. I'm cheap ass Josh, so any which way I can get my comics, that'll be good. Once again, Josh, big thanks. Cheers. And best of luck with the podcast, Panels of War. I look forward to it. We're going to have a word after this show just about the ins and outs of it. But yeah, good to hear that it's up there. It's getting there.
Yeah, it's good. It's been pretty fun to actually record. Editing sucks, but
really,
it's not that bad. Just because I'm sure people can hear in this episode and all my subsequent, I do a lot of ums and ahs. Like every single time I talk, I say I can't help it. I figure every time I have to go through and cut all them out, I'm like, Jesus, just stop doing it.
You don't have to, believe me. And you probably pick them up a lot more because you're a lot more critical of yourself than others. I wouldn't be too worried. I think you do absolutely fine. There are so many words I repeatedly use as well, so it's just, yeah. Anyway, no, big thanks once again. Well, anyway, Loonies, we are out of here. I'm going to edit this together and I'm going to upload it out for your listening pleasure. As always, may Khonshu watch over the denizens of the night. Catch you later.
See you guys.
Moon Knight and affiliated characters, stories and events are properties of Marvel Characters Incorporated. Materials used and discussed within the podcast are intended for critique and review purposes only under the fair dealing concept of the current Copyright Act. The views, information, or opinions expressed during the podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of the copyright owners.